where conflict Watch for the points where conflicts may become destructive. Keep focusing on the benefits of having men with ability, irrespective of their personal weaknesses. See that your very ambitious subordinates work for you and the company. See that the friction happens for the right reasons. And now we'll discuss about the intergroup behaviors. Intergroup behaviors. That means what will be the behavior of different groups? How to behave in a particular way within the group. In this chapter, we'll discuss about objectives, nature of groups and intergroup behavior, factors affecting coordination, which is very much required for better intergroup performances, and ways to manage intergroup relations. Nature of groups. People spend the maximum amount of time in doing things together in groups. Most people cluster into relatively small groups for economic support, having a family, and mutually caring for the health of one another. Education and socialization of children tend to occur usually in other larger groups in schools or other social institutions. Much of the work of the society is carried out by people who perform their activities in close interdependence within relatively enduring associations. The functioning or malfunctioning of groups is recognized increasingly as one of the society's major problems. In business, government, and other organizational sectors, there is a great interest in improving the productivity of groups. How to understand the intergroup behavior? People tend to perform tasks better in the presence of others. It is believed that conflict is a natural and inevitable outcome in a group traditional view. It is believed that all conflicts, it is believed that conflict is a natural and inevitable outcome in a group. It is believed that all conflicts must be avoided for the smooth functioning of the group, that is, human relations. It is believed that the conflict is not only a positive force in a group, but it is absolutely necessary for group to perform effectively. That is, interactionist view. Two distinct organizational groups are linked through the bridges known as intergroup relations. The efficiency and quality of these relationships may have a significant bearing on one or both of the group's performances and members' satisfaction. The key to intergroup performance, that is interdependence. The first important aspect we need to know is whether the group really need coordination. If yes, then the degree of interdependence needs to be determined. Then task uncertainty. Task uncertainty is another aspect as far as tasks in which the groups are involved and are concerned and where the question coordination may arise. Time and goal orientation. Time and goal orientation refers to the difference between groups in terms of their perception of what is important on the basis of the time frame which governs their work and goal orientation. This may make it difficult for groups with different perceptions to work together and thus make coordination a problem. For example, let us think for an example. A sales group would want to sell maximum as its goals center on sales volume, increasing revenue and market share. The customer's ability to pay for these sales it makes are not its prime concern, but people in the credit department want to ensure that sales are made only to credit-worthy customers. These differences in goals often make it difficult for various groups to communicate. It also makes it more difficult to coordinate their interactions. Managing intergroup relations. How to manage the relationship between the groups. That is how to manage intergroup relations. The most simple method and the one with the least involvement of cost for managing intergroup relations is to establish in advance a set of formalized rules and procedures to, to specify how group members are to interact with each other. In large organizations, for example, standard operating procedures, which we tell as SOPs, for each activity are specified even for recruitment and selection of additional staff. Such rules and procedures would minimize the need for interaction and flow of information between departments. The major drawback here is that it makes the system and procedures rigid and also that it works well only when they recur often enough to justify rules and procedures for handling them. Then how to see the group performances? What are the procedure? What is the SOP? We will observe for group performances. The performance and effectiveness of group depend on a number of interrelated factors which are as follows. The composition, cohesiveness and maturity of the group, its structure, the clarification of role, differentiation and channels of communication, patterns of interaction and group process, and attention to both task and maintenance functions. The task to be undertaken and nature of technology, management system and style of leadership, organizational processes and procedures, the social system of the group and the informal organization and the environment in which the group is working. Though the characteristics and behavior to the group members are very important, the above, as we have said, the factors still have a great influence to the performance of a group. It is for the manager to keep a vigilant eye on these factors to have better performance. Let us discuss the supervisory behavior. When you join an organization, you may take up the job of a supervisor or work under a supervisor. Similarly, in your own enterprise, you perform supervisor role. Hence, you must have supervisory behavior. Importance of first line management. A supervisor is otherwise known as first line manager. A supervisor, as the leader of the group, is a member of the first line of management. A supervisor controls the activities of the people reporting to him or her and is responsible for carrying out the management policies and programs. The job of manager, the job of manager is very important, not because the task is to get things done through people, but also because he or she is the only link between the management and the workers and is responsible for implementing management decisions. The first line supervisors are called foreman. They're called foreman or chief check or section manager. The first line supervisor implements schedules in such a way that work flows evenly and steadily. A supervisor's behavior or responsibility is to see that the workforce has the necessary equipment to do the work besides proper surroundings to work and well organized teams of fellow workers. A supervisor is also responsible for his group members being willing and capable of doing the work. He has to set objectives for his group leading to the accomplishment of organization's set objectives. That means he will uh, bring other members in the group and make it accomplished. We are dealing with the supervisory behavior. There are two basic ingredients for a successful behavior, successful supervisor. Firstly, a supervisor must know what is expected of him, and secondly, a supervisor must have an application of management of people. For effective supervision, the first line management requires the support of the top management, especially through well laid down selection and training of supervisors. A manageable team to supervise, pragmatic targets, and timely information, and, and an understanding of management policies and changes therein through people. How a supervisor can be a effective supervisor with what effective supervisions? A group of work or a work group of not more than 15 persons, otherwise the supervisor will be unable to treat the group members as individuals and delegate to them effectively. A supervisor must be able to tell his group in advance about the policies of the organization, a good working relation with the members of the group. A supervisor must take risks where necessary. He must ensure that his group is well organized and that the members are appropriately trained to carry out their activities on the job. A supervisor must ensure effective communication with subordinates, other supervisors, and higher level officers in the management ladder. Let us discuss some skills to be a effective supervisor. Handling people. The number one is handling people. The job of supervisor, as well as we have already discussed, is to get things done through the people under him. So he must have effective supervision over his people, and He must learn the art of handling people. He is to set and maintain the group's objectives and standards and make sure that they are known and understood by every person. Involve the group as a team in the accomplishment of those objectives. Gain the commitment of group members to implement the management decisions. Be accessible. He must be accessible and be able to spend time with the group members. Delegate authority and responsibility for taking decisions that directly affect their work situation. Keep the management informed about the group's reaction and requirements. Listen to the ideas and suggestions presented by the group members, evaluate them, and act where required. Communicate to the group about achieving its targets, recommend good work for rewards or incentives to the management, and recognize success, learn from failures, review objectives, and involve the group members in planning or replanning for the future. And what is his leadership? A successful leader has to strike a balance between task needs, group needs, and individual needs because there are three needs. One is task needs, another is group needs, and individual needs. Helping subordinates to realize that work can be satisfying and integral part of life. Providing clear targets by which their performance can be assessed. Considering an incentive not necessarily financial. Giving praise where it is due. Keeping people informed of any changes, etc., so that they feel secure in their jobs. Keeping a close eye on working conditions and looking out for improved layouts, methods, and systems. Communications. In fact, organization cannot exist without sound communication. An organization has to lay emphasis on downward communication, upward communication, and horizontal communication. Then we'll see what are the functional problems in the organization. That is gigantic work targets. The top management fixes and passes on to the supervisors heavy targets which are not possible to be achieved by the group or workers, and the supervisor in a given amount of time is blamed. Inadequate infrastructure and supplies. If the infrastructure is inadequate, the manager cannot the supervisor cannot function adequately. Improper support from the top. If the top level management will not be cooperative, then it is very difficult. Lack of coordination between various wings. If he is not pulling well with the other wings, it is very difficult for him. Varying interests of the employees. Varying interests of the employees. The workers in an organization have different interests, motives, needs, and impulses. Unless the top management seriously builds the work culture where the organization's interests are dominating over the individual's interests, it becomes thoroughly difficult for the supervisor to get proper work output from the team. So these are the hurdles for the supervisor. In the block 4, we'll discuss the management functions tomorrow. Thank you very much. Good night.